Hey there. So we all think we know what a mistake is, right? It's that feeling of failure, taking a wrong turn, saying the wrong thing. I mean, we spend a huge chunk of our lives just trying to avoid them. But what if I told you that our entire way of looking at mistakes is, well, just plain wrong? What if the mistake isn't actually the problem? What if the problem is us? Let's dive into that. So let's just jump right in with this kind of wild idea from our source material. Think about that for a second. What if we aren't the ones making mistakes? What if instead we're just the tool that a mistake uses to happen? I mean, that one sentence just completely flips the script on everything we think we know about blame and control. And this is where it starts to get really mind-bending. You know, we say it all the time. Oh, my mistake. But if you really stop and think about it, does that phrase even make sense? A mistake, by its very definition, is something we didn't mean to do. It's a moment where we totally lose control. So, how can we own something that we never had control over to begin with? It's kind of like claiming ownership of a gust of wind. The words are there, sure, but they don't really fit the reality of the situation. Okay, let's get a little precise with our language here, because it's actually super important. An error is just a fact being wrong. You know, if I say 2 plus 2 equals 5, that's an error. Simple. But a mistake, that's different. That's about an action. If I try to bake a cake and it ends up a burnt mess, that's a mistake. It's tied to what I was trying to do, my intention, and the unexpected result. You see the difference? This little distinction is actually the key to unlocking this whole idea. And this brings us to a really fascinating point, how the very words we use can trap us in a certain way of thinking, especially when it comes to blame. Let's take a look at how this plays out in different languages. And wow, look at this. This comparison really lays it all out. In English, we say, I made a mistake. See how the I is the star of the show? It's a phrase loaded with guilt and blame. But in a language like Chinese, the phrasing is more like, a mistake was made. The focus shifts from the person to the event itself. It's a subtle change, for sure, but it has a massive impact. One is a confession, the other is just an observation. And here's the problem with that I-centered view we have in the West. It forces us to be the main character in the story of the mistake. But what if we're not? What if the mistake itself is the main character? You know, in our way of thinking, a rock can't have a thought. A chair can't have a plan. So a mistake can't have its own logic, right? But what if we're missing the whole picture? What if the mistake has its own side of the story? So, if we strip away the blame, if we take I out of the center of the universe, what are we left with? Well, this leads us to the absolute core idea of this whole explainer, that a mistake isn't just some random failure. It actually has its own internal, coherent logic, one that we just can't see from our side. So let me ask you this, and really think about it. From our point of view, a mistake is a total surprise. It's a glitch, right? It's random. But what if we're not the only ones with a point of view? From the mistake's perspective, is it random, or is it just perfectly following its own path? Let's use an analogy to make this clearer. Imagine you're playing a guessing game. Someone is thinking of a number, and you're trying to guess it. Every single wrong guess you make is, from your perspective, a mistake. But for the person who's thinking of the number, the guessee, there's no mystery at all. They know the number. It's a fact. Your mistake doesn't change their reality one bit. Okay, or how about this one? You roll a pair of dice. To you, the result feels totally random. But for the dice themselves, the result is just physics. It's the angle they were thrown, the velocity, the friction on the table. From their perspective, the outcome was always determined. They know exactly where they're going to land. And let's go even bigger. The weather. We try our best, but we can't predict it with 100% accuracy, right? But the weather itself isn't confused about what it's going to do tomorrow. The atmospheric pressure, the humidity, all those complex systems, they are following their own internal logic. The system knows its own next move, even if we can only make an educated guess. And all of this leads to this one powerful idea. Every single mistake has two sides. What feels unpredictable and wrong to one person is perfectly logical and intended from another perspective. There's really no such thing as a mistake that exists in a vacuum. Okay, I get it. I know what you might be thinking. Dice that know things, weather that has a plan, it all sounds a little silly or absurd. But what if I told you this idea isn't just some philosophical game? It's actually the foundation of the technology that is literally reshaping our world as we speak. Yeah, let's talk about AI. I mean, how does your favorite streaming service know exactly what movie you want to watch next? It's not magic. It's just a really, really smart system that's been paying close attention. It observes everything you've watched, it analyzes the patterns, and then it predicts your next move. And the kind of scary part is, it's almost always right. So think about it. If a non-human system, a machine, an algorithm, can know us and predict our behavior, sometimes even better than we know ourselves, well, then the idea that other systems have their own internal knowledge doesn't seem so far-fetched anymore, does it? The mistake knows the mistake. All right, let's pull all of these threads together. If a mistake isn't just our fault, and if it has its own hidden logic, then what on earth is it? This new perspective reframes the whole concept into something way more useful. It turns mistakes into a form of communication. This pretty much sums it all up. So, a mistake is not a personal failure. It's not just a bug you need to fix or an error in your thinking. Instead, think of it like this. It is a hint from that other side. It's a signal, maybe a warning. It's the system itself trying to tell you something about how it works. It's the system introducing itself. So, I'll leave you with this question. The next time you mess up, the next time you find yourself right in the middle of a mistake, don't just get angry or frustrated. Pause. Get curious. Ask yourself, what is this trying to tell me? What is the hidden logic here? Because if you're willing to listen, you might just find that your mistakes aren't your enemies. They might just be your greatest teachers. And that is a lesson worth learning.